Alrighty, guys. Thank you for joining. We're going to be talking about a lot today. Didn't really seem to get smaller, did it? Okay. I'm trying to see if it still says AMC buy and hold, but I don't see it. Oh, I did make it super small. Here we go. They just look super huge right here. Okay. So, what we will talk about today is AMC. I mean, we're not going to talk too much about AMC, usually buy and hold. Something looks like it's going on in the market right now. I mean, when GME did, so like GME's $39 looks like, or sorry, AMC's $39 looks like GME's $29, and from there it went to $115. But I think AMC is actually stronger than GME ever was. And I think AMC is going to go much higher than where GME is at right now, and likely much higher than what GME's highs were. So as far as AMC goes, I think, if you're invested in something else like crypto or anything else, I'm worried for you because you're kind of like a diamond hander as well. And I see why you got in the first place, and I see how the disconnection from society is like what makes you feel valuable. But you got to understand that with the institutional owners, when you hit them in the options market, it's going to cause it to bleed everything else. And so, because AMC is about to hit in the options market and hit big, it's going to bleed everything else. So, maybe don't buy everything AMC, but if you don't have some AMC, I'm worried about you. I don't have any AMC, but I know it's going to work out for me, so I'm not that worried about me. What I actually intend to do with this video is going to be about perfect banking, and I'm going to write up big picture to smaller picture to smaller picture, everything that matters about perfect banking and how we could create one perfect bank as a community and what this bank would look like. I claim to be a financial expert that has been mastering the most complicated facets of the financial system for a long time, and I want to put it all together into one place. Like, you go to Robinhood because you want to trade stocks. You go to Wells Fargo because you want convenience and liquidity and debit cards and checking books and business account and all this other stuff. Well, you go to a life insurance company for life insurance, and I'm just going to take all of these things, even crypto, and put everything that has even remotely any value and put it all together, all at one place. But only offer the value that each of these businesses offer. So if you think about it, there are a lot of companies that offer a small subset of value, but then they build this giant presentation and benefits and weird just stupid bonuses where they charge you a little smaller fees so they can give you bonuses, and just they try to build a picture around something that's smaller than what it really is. And so we're going to cut through all that bullcrap and just bring all the little good segments together that you care about in banking and put it all in one place, make it infinitely quickly liquid as anything else out there, and create a little I never hated MLM. The only thing I hated about MLMs was that I never found a service that I could be proud of. I never found something that I would want to buy myself to build an MLM around. And a good MLM is something that brings actual value, but then on top of that, on top of just bringing the value, the MLM doesn't cost a lot. And it's something where it's like, hey retard, this is what you want to do. If you don't have a bank account with this bank, the perfect bank, it's because you haven't looked into it. Everything else sucks in comparison. So, let's see what that kind of looks like. Like, I'll come through and I'll answer questions and stuff if you guys have questions. But, okay. Let's see, any way to... Here we go. That'll work. Alrighty. So I'm just going to do like notes right now, and then as time goes on, I'm going to come back and like fill in the blanks type of thing. So we're going to say perfect banking. All right. So for a bank, you got to have a corporate structure, which you could disguise as my MLM idea. I don't know if disguise is the right word, but that is the corporate structure. It'll be very cut and dry and simple. Then you have client value. Then you have I'm trying to see if everything just kind of fits into client value or if there should be more. Because like everything else, I kind of feel like I could introduce what is the client value between anything else that we're going to talk about. But I feel like, let me just think about it for a minute. Let's do this. Let's just have two sections right now. Client value. Okay. So the corporate structure I'll come back to. I'm probably like if I was just a regular dude that like was 21 years old again and I was looking for the perfect thing to do. This type a hang on, somebody asked a question. Life insurance companies. Alright guys, so there is this guy named Patrick Bet David. He has a YouTube channel and he does a lot of interviews with people. And basically he made a video recently about him being rich and how he got rich, and he like credited all the like books and reading and all this other bullcrap. And basically how he got rich was through a company called PHP. And a company called PHP, and basically they oversell their products and just wipe away people's entire savings, telling them that 30 years from now they'll be thankful. And the first 3 years they just pay massive commissions to become your client. And the idea is if that someday they can save a lot more than they're able to save right now, then they'll have a beautiful retirement through this plan. And it's super shady. And I showed his regional manager in Arizona how to do it better. And he said that Patrick Bet-David would have no interest in something like that. And that I'm wasting my time trying to show them how to treat the client better. So that's what I was just, somebody asked me a question and I was answering it. Alrighty. So in client value, let's address a couple different things. So for me, liquidity is like number one. If I have a bank, I just want to be able to spend my money maximum, no limits, just I trust myself to have full control. Now, should I? I mean, I've made plenty of mistakes in my life and gone to zero and negatives and like multiple times. So is that the right answer? Probably not. But like, I'm just never that worried about life, and I know I can always figure something else out. And like, I like to risk it all, because if I'm not risking it at all, if I'm not putting my back against the wall, then I get comfortable, and I don't like being comfortable. Like, I mean, I like being comfortable when I'm winning. I like going to like vacations because I'm winning in the background so freaking much. I don't like just finding a base level of comfort and then never being able to live beyond those bounds. And so what we're learning today is how to create, okay, lesson of the day. How to create the perfect bank for your clients and undercut the entire financial system by taking the benefits each financial sector offers and making it into one. Oops. Alrighty. So liquidity just means how soon can I spend my deposits? Should always be instant. Man, if you got 10 2023s and 100 shares of AMC right now, you're sitting pretty, Ryan. When it hits 2,000 a share, like you just sell one of those contracts for $200,000 and then let it go to 10,000 a share, and then you sell another one contract for $1 million. And then you freaking exercise your options. That's what you do. We'll talk about that later, though. Let's wait for it to happen. All right. So when I'm thinking of a bank that I want to sign up with, the first thing I'm worried about is my deposit. So like if somebody says they're going to send me money, like I try to give them my wire information because I want a wire transfer because it's going to get here the fastest and it gets there instantly and I can spend it instantly. Now, a lot of banks offer stuff like this. Like for example, you send somebody money in Cash App, they can set in Cash App, you can send it straight to your legit bank account where your debit card is instantly. And so if I was Cash App, I mean, obviously they probably, I know they do. They have debit cards, right? And so if I was Cash App, I'd be trying to get everyone to have a debit card and keep their money with me. So there's something you got to understand with the bank. And I heard this on a video. I can't remember who exactly said it. But any dollar you give the bank is a loan to the bank. You are giving them an interest-free loan. And they get to do whatever they want with that because they're a bank and they're licensed to do just that. Now, I don't want to focus on the ideas of the world is collapsing, even though I think it is, even though I pray for that pain. Like, because, like, I have nothing right now and I feel fine about it. And so I just want everyone to kind of get to my level and realize that having nothing isn't that bad when you really have, like, everything you need to survive. And, like, if we just go solve our problems real quick, then, like, living on in the future shouldn't be that hard. And so the idea that you guys loan money to these banks and then they loan money to China and China invest in these properties and they said they were going to build these properties in the next 3 years, and then property after property after property after property being managed by dozens of different people, being worked on by hundreds if not thousands of different people, being supplied by all these different people, all of it didn't get done. The work didn't get done. Nobody's working anymore. Like, the new generation of workers just ain't got it. Or they don't want to give it. And they're tired of giving it to a corrupt system, which is where I feel like I'm at. And there's a lot of people that's in between all of that, right? And so, and then there's some people that do work hard. And thank God for them. But rather than focusing on the market crashing, AMC going to the moon, I want to focus on the step after that. So I'm done investing. I've done enough of investing. Like I've proven what I can do, who I am, what I know, how I research, and I've proven it's different than anybody else. And what I intend to do is take all that knowledge, put it into a nice readable format, and then the world collapses around us, and all the people that have come by and appreciate advice I've given and now have taken over the financial system, ideally. Or maybe I'll go find this with other people, because I have like people I'm talking to right now of maybe networking with, and it really shouldn't cost too much money to get this off the ground. It really shouldn't cost too much money at all. And so regardless if AMC moons, regardless if the system collapses, I want to try right now to focus my attention on what I would do if all of that did happen, and how I would bring people together and how I could make it all better. And if that's all true, then do I really need the market to collapse before I do that? Now, like, I would argue in some ways yes, because like I had answers to beat the system and then they stole it from me. And so, in the fact that they stole it from me, is it fair? Like, should I have to go to this extra mile to prove it to you guys? I felt like, had they not insider traded and not known that things were going to go up, and so they sold to delay that because too many people were buying options and nobody was buying more options than me or getting more people to buy options than me, then I don't know. I've used it to like justify this idea that I can just wait for it all to collapse and I can then like sue them and win this in court in a couple years. And even if things are hard for me for a couple years, like I just sit back in the shadows. Like that's kind of where my head was at. And that don't seem right. And so the reason it doesn't seem right is because if there's answers that things could be better today, like I think I've just become cynical that there's nobody actually out there willing to do work, and even if I gave them everything perfect knowledge, like there's just nobody out there that's willing to do anything with it, because you got to kind of learn something and then work with it rather than just like work within the realm you already know. And for whatever reason, I've been struggling to be able to teach people. And not in all things. Like, I obviously do really well teaching people because lots of money has been grown and built and created because of me. But it always hits a brick wall. It's always running into problems. So hopefully, if I can, the idea is with this live stream, and I could be on here for the next 6, 7, 8 hours. Like, I really don't know how long I'm gonna be on here. And I might be on it for a couple hours, get some started, and then come back later and just work on it when I can. But the idea is that I am going to have the plan built by the time the market collapses and AMC goes to the moon that everyone should be so gung-ho about that when everyone's asking, what do we do now? There's only one answer. And it will allow... And so part of my problem with like this whole idea is that I have all these ideas that exist in the current market, and there's lots of ways to define new opportunities, and I like thinking about new opportunities. And when I start to try to teach it nowadays, I feel like I'm wasting my time, because I feel like when the market crash happens, like basically the fundamental principle that's going to come out of this is that the fundamental principle that's going to come out of this is that options can exist. And for sure, not on individual stock chains, and maybe not even on like indexes. I think you might be able to build you could totally build a system on indexes as long as the market makers that were accepting the trades weren't naked shorting. So the naked shorting, like there's naked shorting of a stock where you try to sell the stock, and if it goes up, you technically have infinite loss, but it would have to go up so much for you to like, as long as you're not like shorting 100% of your portfolio, like you're shorting 10% of your portfolio, like you should be fine. But on the options, the problem is that they're shorting a number so great in the options that if it were to win, they would lose 100 times what they have. And so they force it on the stock to not be natural, to guarantee that they don't lose more than what they have. And so the only way for the options market to truly exist is for... It really shouldn't be a percentage thing. It should be like there is no margin. And it makes you have to like tighten up your ability to trade options and your ability to accept options. Because right now the stock market's just open to be openly infinite. Like it can take as much volume as you can give it. But if I can take as much volume as I can give it at the highest strike price, and then they demand that it doesn't go above that strike price, so I can't win, then they're creating a rigged game. But if they can't afford to pay that, if I was going to win and I hit the right price and it was supposed to win, then they should have never been making that trade in the first place, and they should have never taken my money. But they're not smart enough at the math to understand what that even means, and how to gauge the risk of an option, and how to be fluid with the thought that anything could really happen. And if that's the case, then like let's build a plan that makes money without margin. And if somebody wants to make a bet, we can take certain bets, but it's got to be under... You got to have... Like, there's so many different ways to create... Like, to negate trades. So I could take this trade that you want, but then I can go make this trade for a little bit cheaper, and it limits the risk between the two of them. And it's like, there's risk, but it's not the end of the world risk. Where right now, they're taking end of the world risk. And so... part of my problem with this perfect banking is I know that the perfect true banking is in a world of finance that doesn't fully, like, it exists today, but it's got to be less than what it is now. And so the finance system is going to change. And I felt like, I think I've been holding back a lot because I felt like I'll just wait to see what the new rules are, and then I'll beat the new rules. And I'll show what's wrong with the new rules, or I'll expose the next system, right? And because that's what I do. I find opportunity and then I expose it. And every time I do it, like the big money gets mad at me, and they hold it against me. Like the life insurance companies didn't like it. Well, they didn't want to finish it, because they know if they finish it, then it exposes how great it really is. And if you back something like that, you're a billionaire overnight, and they don't like to win that way. They want it like, They want you to build the story, and they want you to do it with their current crappy products, and then they want to, like, after you've made $1 billion, you go do it yourself with them type thing, which is so weird. Like, if it can be better today, it should be better today. It does not make sense to milk them. I don't want to talk about people milking the money, because it hurts my heart how much out there people are just taking money from people and making massive commissions on it. All right. Never. So liquidity is the first thing I like to talk about. It's the most simple form of banking. If you come to my bank, it's because I'm going to give you a debit card. So debit card within 24 hours. Now, we got debit card. We got limits on how much you can spend. Never. Just on what you have, right? And how soon can I spend my deposits should always be instant. So people get my money instantly. There's no limit on how much I can spend. When I get money, it's instant, and I can spend it right away. And then if I'm coming in, like, I feel like the average person doesn't need much more than a debit card these days. Everyone's found a way to kind of trade money through a debit card. And if you think about Cash App, you can trade with money on people on Cash App with no fee, because, and the same for PayPal, same for any of these apps, and it's because they're happy to just keep the money. Like, you're giving them a free loan, and if it's going to another person's Cash App, they're gonna, like, you're just transferring the money, but the money's still with Cash App. So Cash App doesn't really lose the money until the one person takes it out of Cash App. And they don't like that, but they'll offer you things like, okay, get it now for a 1.5%, or wait 2 days and get 100% of it. And so that way they can say they're free banking, but they have a little fee thing to get more money. But the idea is, what if businesses, what if individuals, everybody is banking through the same bank? What if everybody in the world banked through Wells Fargo? Because it was a no-brainer, because Wells Fargo offers better financial package all in one than anybody else out there. And so that's what we're shooting for here. And so we talked about the money, the debit card. So we want in-network clientele base. Cannot be forced. Must be natural. Of customers flocking to the best value. All right. So after that, what am I thinking about for a bank? So what can a bank offer me? There are credit lines. There are retirement plans, retirement bank accounts, retirement accounts. There are savings accounts. And then there are checking accounts. Checking account needs the liquidity. And it's my... Okay, hold on. Liquidity. And then obviously liquidity to the checking account between everything else. And then it needs to be a business account. Everyone should have a business account. Everyone's life is a business. You are always on the grind of life. And life is hard. I don't care if you work 8 hours a day. Like, the rest of your life is still a bit, like, it's all one thing, people. And so Your checking account is your business account. Your life account is like, it should all be one thing, in my opinion. If you have an extra business that you're actually doing something structured and you're paying other people consistent money, then I would recommend also getting another business account. But like, if you just find opportunities and trade money and all this other stuff, invest your money, it doesn't matter. You, like, your checking account is a business account, and we would get you set up that way as a bank. And then, so we got credit lines, retirement accounts, savings accounts, and then we got mortgages. Charlie, if nothing else, you rebound when I rebound, brother. When the win happens, because like, if AMC wins, that's a whole nother story. That means everything else loses, and that means a lot of pain is going to come to the world. And I'm certain that's when I get my stage to stand on, if it's not sooner. But when my win happens, like, I'm trying to right now find a way to move forward and forget about the negative. Imagine they didn't exist. What would I do if I just got plopped into this world and I see all the pain that I see, and forget about the politics, assume that they don't have any power, assume that they don't do anything, and that everything's just nothing? How can you just make it better? If that brings the win early, everyone that's in it with me, they'll be remembered. This is something that, I mean, there's people for the last 7 years of my life that have moved with me in a way where I know I couldn't be here today without what they've done. And there's probably more people on that list than I can remember. But I believe one day the idea, like, it'll get to a point where anyone thinks that they've been on my side and they sacrificed for me, and they want to come tell me about it. Like, I want to talk to everybody that got something to say, whether it's about my life, whether it's about repairing the damages I've done in my life to other people, or anything else. Like, I want to wash the slate. I've done a lot of good for a lot of people that I've wronged in the past, and I don't know. I'm not, like, until there's something I can do about it, I don't like to focus on the problem. And right now, we're going to try to focus on the solutions. So we got credit lines, we got retirement accounts, we got savings accounts, we got checkings accounts, we got mortgages. Is there anything else in the... And then we got investing. So we got bonds, we got stocks, we got options, and we got bonds, stocks, options, and crypto. Stocks, and we'll say commodities. And I don't want to do currency. I don't like the Forex market. I'll have to think about the Forex market. Loans would be, so we got credit lines right here, which would be a loan. Okay, so inside of these things, let's talk about how to make these best. So first off, let's do a Google search real quick. I want to show you guys something. How much money of the stock market is retail 401k? Let's see here. $401k total combined USA. What am I looking for? Cash value. There we go. What is the total value of all 401ks? $28.3 trillion as of June. $28.3 trillion. And many 401ks, they don't allow you to touch your 401k until you quit your job. So this is the money that we should have access to minimum. This isn't any of the money they spend. This isn't any of the money they make and they take home. This isn't any of the money that they get inside deals in their gigs. This is the money they can't freaking touch or they're living off of in their retirement. $28.3 trillion. Okay? So, what I'm trying to show with that is it is very possible to bring value, save money, and grow that money. As society grows, the money should grow. When you get money, it doesn't mean you're taking money from somebody else. Money grow, so if I go build another house, I created that money into the market. It didn't exist before, and there might be money that costs for the lumber and all this other stuff, but the value outside of what we took and that we just added to it because society has agreed that this is the value that home builders deserve and that what we're willing to pay, you have now added that value. Now, property should be a little bit more stable, in my opinion. But I also think property itself that's already built, that's good property, that's strong property, is probably going to go up in value. While a lot of dead property that looks like it's going to fall down and collapse soon is probably only going to be worth the land it's on. And then there's going to become a new standard of building. And I don't know that's a new standard. Well, it is a new standard. Because everything needs to be upgraded. I'm tired of the idea that there are home builders out there that are building and doing cheap countertops, cheap, not open space, just small, cramped. I understand there are people that can live in those conditions, but if, maybe it's not so much about how small it is, but everything should be, the electronics should be all the way upgraded. The outlets should all have USB outlets, should all have regular outlets, should all have, anything that you can imagine that people are using on a regular basis should be implemented into the home. I think the washer and dryer should be built into the home as things that cannot fail. And they, basically do the laundry for you. If you don't think we can make a washer and dryer machine like that, you just aren't paying attention. And it should be standard. Every place should be built like this in the future. And then we can renovate what we have now to make it to where your life is no longer about doing the remedial stuff of your life. Always cleaning, always laundry, always, the people that I know that are, living, check, I don't know if check to check's the right word because they're making more than they spend and then they just love to spend money. But they're always fucking doing the lawn. They're they just, I don't know. It's a very small. I want to spend my time doing things that are more meaningful. Is the only way I know how to say it. And I love to go to a nice vacation and I love to eat really good food. But when I'm working and it's I gotta solve my next problem, I'm in the basement, I'm just eating ramen and shiz. I don't need anything ever. Do I like? Sure, I like a lot of things. But I don't need none of it. And so, here's the thing. the point of the $28.3 trillion, what I was showing you, is that people are willing to save their money. People are willing to believe in opportunity, into a greater idea that like life can be better and we can make things happen. So here's the thing. If I'm a bank, and let's just do it one at a time for now, and we'll go through this. So if I'm a bank, we're going to talk about lines of credit outside of mortgages. So car loans, brutal. Many people, their car loans are brutal interest rates. Now, first thing I want to say about the retirement account kind of applies to the credit lines. Always 100% access to a loan of this account balance. Okay, so I can't do that symbol before I go. Hang on. Always available in a form of line of credit for an asset. That makes sense. Okay. Let's say, so we know there's $28.3 trillion. Well, I know people that like make 200 grand a year for these stupid Microsoft companies, and they have millions and millions and millions of dollars inside their 401ks. $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, $10 million, and they're 50 years old, 60 years old, 70 years old. Some of them 40 years old and probably got $1 million. And it's just by saving 10% and getting a 5 to 10% match from their employer, and they're saving basically $25,000 every year, and they've been buying for 20 years and through the ups and downs, and they are making money. And so here's the thing. If I go buy a new car and I want to make payments on this car, let's say like a good bank will give me like a 3% over 5 years or something. Let's say I have bad credit and they want to do like 12% over 7 years. If the bank that I bank with, I have some form of retirement account that I'm still saving, we will loan you the money at a 0% for your car loan, for your home loan, for many things. If you want to come and withdraw your retirement account, then you're going to need to give up the car, sell the car, or the home loan, and you're only going to get back what you can't pay back. And then we're going to take the rest because we already paid it out. Now, inside your retirement account, basically what you're going to have in here is bonds. And the only thing we trust in bonds is company profits that have mathematically fair earnings and fair P&E ratio and real estate. These are the only two things we trust. P/E ratios and real estate. Now, a retirement account is supposed to make money. So inside our bank, we're going to have what's called so I'm going to build this based off today's world. If something changes, obviously, like I'll just change it to make it the best. Whatever the best thing is, that's what we make it. And so right now, That 28.3 trillion. Let's see this. In index funds. So if you look at this one, it says, which make about 75% of the U.S. stock market's total value. So if the index funds are all 75% of the U.S. total market value, and we know there's $28.3 trillion in the 401ks, what is the Warren Buffett rule? The Buffett rule is the basic principle that no household making over $1 million annually should pay a smaller share of their income in taxes than middle-class families. Warren Buffett has famously stated that pay lower tax rate. This is so fake. Why would it say that? The Warren Buffett rule for investing, I guess, instead of tax. There we go. Buffett is simply referred to a mindset of sensible investors should cultivate when making financial decisions. Don't be frivolous by failing. So, if you do research into videos and listening to him talk, anytime he's giving advice, he says, look, the best and safest thing to do is to buy the index, keep buying, and don't stop buying. Just buy the index. Society will grow, and you're just going to capitalize off the growth. Whether it's 5% or 10% or 20%, it doesn't matter. Just keep buying. Just keep buying. And he might say some things like try to find with 20%, 30% of your money, try to find opportunities of things you think might excel past other places. And look at the money and look at the earnings and find good business models that you think are sustainable and have infinite growth. And invest in those things. But based off that logic, all the money has ended up in the index funds. 75% of the whole stock market. What is the whole stock market? Total cash value, the stock market. If you perform calculation across all 3,066 companies on the New York Stock Exchange and add them up, you get a total capitalization of 15 trillion. Now, there's a problem with this 15 trillion this 3,000 is that there's over 15,000 stock companies. So why it only gives you 3,000, I don't know. Or it's because it's the New York Stock Exchange only. So we already looked how there's 28.3 just in 401ks, but obviously not all the 401ks are in the New York Stock Exchange. If we look at this one, here we go. 95 trillion is the global stock market value. Of the total global stock market value, 28.3 trillion is, so if we take 75% of this, we know those 75% are in the index funds, right? So we're basically at 70 trillion, and then 30 trillion of that is coming from individual workers for big business, which equals up to 28.3 trillion. And it could be like smaller business too, but it's really just like you're an employee. Most employees have the 401ks and the money of the $28.3 trillion. And if we say that 70 trillion of it is in the index fund, then that means they almost own half of that value. About 40% of that value. And so if we were targeting them and nobody else, then it would look like you would have the biggest single bank in the world. No bank holds that much money. There's so many little banks out there that they all just hold in hundreds of billions, and a couple of them probably a couple trillions. But there's just the idea that there's people out there that just like, the only idea to me that like out there is worth hundreds of trillions in theory would be like the Federal Reserve, the federal government, all the property that they own. Like, you could argue that because they own the United States, and because United States is where, like, I mean, I hear a lot of people in other countries say it's not the place to be, but it's the place to be. I mean, you can argue that in the last 30 years, America's just gone totally downhill. But the world owes America everything. Without America, the world is still living in utter freaking, I don't even know, nothingness. America paved the way to civilization, to a civil society. And not everyone's made it there yet, but now there's a lot of countries that think because their government's got more power that they're more progressive and more intuitive. But really, these people that have the power have no solutions to make anything better. They just know how to attack the people that are attacking them and make it harder for them and take away what they want. But they're not actually giving anybody else what they need. So, imagine that 28.3 trillion being under your bank's umbrella and then using that, like basically if all that money just got liquidated and they went and moved it, like now a lot of people might transfer their 401k to a bank, right? A lot of places you can't do that transfer until after you quit your job and you have to stop putting money in. And basically you have to quit your job in order to move your money. Some of them you can do a forced withdrawal and move your 401k while you're still employed. You'll just have to call your bank for your 401k and ask them their rules and ask them to give it to you in writing. Make sure it's true. And you could move the money over. Some people would want to keep it in the stocks that they're in because they like what they're invested in and they've been in it a long time and they trust it. Personally, I think a market crash is coming, so if it crashes down 95%, like maybe we can rebuild the whole stock market of any companies that are actually legitimate, and then more legitimate companies can be built through the banks that we have. And so, credit line, first thing, any money. Didn't I already actually say that? Where did I write that? I thought I did. Okay. Any money in retirement bonds can be loaned in advance for assets. Now, asset can be a vehicle, property, or business. Some requiring a peer approval, some based on type of asset. Guaranteed approval. Hold on. Some guaranteed. There we go. All right. Retirement accounts. Always available in a form of line of credit for an asset. Okay. Then the bonds. Okay. And so this is actually only true. Yeah, so that's where it's true. Here we go. Let's capitalize this so we understand. Any money in retirement bonds can be loaned in advance for assets. So this 28.3 trillion, if we're smart, what we're going to do is we're going to buy bonds with it, And then we're going to do the indexing like you were with the 28.3 trillion, but through options with 5 to 20% of your retirement account value. Okay, with 5 to 20%. Retirement account value based off your comfort level of with easy to understand training videos. And now I'm going to have to make that video. Okay. Then my retirement plan should also be my investment plan. So now we're going to add in the retirement plan. Okay, so we're going to make this yellow, this yellow, all right. Then oh, one thing I forgot was life insurance. Which is super important. Did I really forget life insurance? Nice. Okay. So I don't need to, well, don't need to explain bonds more than what they're explained. All it takes is a good prospectus, and you can create a bond fund, and we will fund it if it pays money. Stocks and commodities are going to go into the retirement plan. So now retirement account. Okay. So we got self investments into the market. So stocks, options, and crypto and currency. We'll do currency as well. Now, gutting the current model bulk information, all of the assets. We provide simplified list. Different metrics can be filtered. Find what investments fit your criteria best. We train you on the basics of buying and selling. Crazy this has to be preparation for market crash. Covering your thoughts. I sure pray. I'm hoping that is the case. I felt like I got tricked into too many times before when it seemed like the perfect storm. And so I think anything that you're going to do in the option market, you should have at least a couple months of theta, just in case this is another bounce. I think every time that they print money, it lasts a shorter period of time. And so if the government gets together, if they raise the debt ceiling, if they pass another 3.5 trillion, I don't think it would last them another 6 months to a year. I think it would last them maybe a month, maybe two. I don't know what's going to happen. I pray that they're just going to finally pull the Band-Aid and let everyone feel the pain, and we see what happens. I think if they do this, then it will naturally make AMC go very, very high. And I think that it would make sense for it to happen now and to go this way. And like people start defaulting and then the collapse happens. And I don't think the default is just going to be with China. I think the same problems that China is having, America's having, and every other country is having. And I hope they just decide to have it. AMC is going to hurt everything. And it's not because of the stock price going up, but it's because of the option money being made. And in order for that to go up, they have to sell their other money other places in order to pay you and to prove they have liquidity. And so AMC hurts everything, but it's, in my opinion, a necessary pain. And so this is either just another pony show that they're using to try to get people to buy a bunch of options, or this is probably the point where they, like, AMC is actually owned by retail and they know that nobody's about to be selling and they're running out of ammo to keep the price down. And this is like the moment where AMC starts to cause that pain. In my opinion, I'm not going to be sold that day has come until we hit negative 10% on the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, and the Dow Jones all in one day. Until I see it all happen in one day, I'm not convinced that they aren't going to just print more money and come back from it. But if we hit negative 10% all in one day and AMC's still crashing, like AMC's about to moon. If AMC's still crashing, that's the time to buy. But AMC could skyrocket and then we could see the negative 10% in a day. And when that happens, I don't think it's going to stop. I think it's only going to get worse. And I think it's going to hurt everybody temporarily. But then I think people are going to have to look for answers on how to live a better life and have a better society. And I plan to be here screaming those answers from the rooftops. Alrighty. Okay, so savings account. This is money that I want to keep on hand, ready to spend if transferred to checkings. Okay. Safe, but ready to spend. Seamless transfer to checking account. / limit of overdraft protection. And limit overdraft protection. Example. So I'll provide an example for that later, but basically the idea is simple. If I have $1,000 in my checking account and I have $10,000 in my savings account because I feel like I might need to spend $10,000 on any given day, then I can set up on my savings account that like I can cash up to $250 limit of overdraft fee, or I could do $500 limit of overdraft fee, or I could do in theory you could do $10,000 limit, whatever limit you think is right. Basically meaning if I go swipe my debit card for my checkings account and it says you don't have enough money, it will automatically pull up from the savings account up to the limit unless the limit is not enough to cover the difference of what the checking account didn't have. And this way I have access to the money that I think I need to like have under my pillow. And then I have access to my checking account. And I can create a limit on my savings account and only keep a certain amount in my checking account, which can basically, from my knowledge, know that I can't spend more than X amount of dollars based on looking at what my checking account is, unless I go and I move all my savings account. And savings account is just where you have whatever you think you might need to spend the most in a single day. That's what I'd keep in my savings account. Now, we got mortgages. Mortgages are simple. So all my money in retirement bonds cancels my most expensive percent APR to my least until my retirement account is used as collateral until my retirement account is used as collateral for any outstanding debt remaining. Effectively, making my APR on loans 0% across 0% all payments. And now you have your retirement account, you're making your payments, but you're not paying any interest on it because they've basically collateralized your retirement account as you and in order to reduce your APR. And if you ever want to go sell your if you ever want to sell your property, like when you bring that money back, then we can release the funds of the retirement account. Or until you pay off the house, of course. Once you own the house, then you don't need collateral on it. And you can basically, you could either sell the home or you can just start taking from your retirement account. Or, in theory, we could come in and give you a loan back on the house. And you could keep all your money still in your retirement account. Now, there's one other thing that I care about for mortgages. Well, actually, a couple things. So one of them's from the buyer side of a mortgage and buying a house. And the other one's from the builder side and getting money to build houses for our bank. And basically applying to have a bond. And yeah, so let's do the one first. When client buys house, look through house of all reasonable upgrades needed and hire a construction company approved by bank, perform upgrades, and add the cost to the mortgage payment rather than a down payment or a short loan or cash payment. All right, so I think that in order to get America to where all houses are relatively nice and we like where we live, we need to be, when we offer mortgages to our customers, we need to be doing it in a way where if I come into this house and I see it needs new countertops, it needs a new fridge, it needs a new washer and dryer, and it needs a swimming pool, and it's already a super nice house, and it's worth so it's only going to be 10%. Like you basically you limit the percentage of upgrades per house to 10 to 20% of what the house value is, and then every time that somebody comes in to buy a house, they're never taking on too much more debt, but they're greatly appreciating the value of the house, and then they. Every time someone else buys the house, if you sell the house to someone else, that person's going to come in and add more upgrades until every house in this freaking America is a beautiful freaking house to live in. I really think that's important. And this type of system where you are, it'll kind of be in the, I'm going to break this out in the corporate policy. But basically, this is how the bank becomes a builder, a one-stop shop financial system, a recruiter, a trainer, a business funder, all the things. Now, we haven't talked about life insurance yet. And we already talked about, we already added these somewhere else. So the last thing that I have for you guys in my bank, outside of all of this, is we're going to wrap everything that I just showed you, the top food chain of this financial umbrella. So, as time goes on, okay, life insurance limits you So how would you limit the amount of property someone can get? So basically, aside from all of this, we meet at the, like, after all of this, it's match any program someone else is doing for a loan per credit score and other factors. So we create the whole same system that everyone else uses. Like there's one system, right? Like someone might have a little bit higher standards, but like they all just check the credit score, then they check your income, they check how long you've had your job, yada yada yada, see what kind of person you are, and then they make you an offer. If you get approved at one place, you get approved at almost all the places. Again, you might get different interest rates from certain places just because some people are willing to take a bigger risk. But what I'm getting at is we'll do all of these things and then we'll match whatever anyone else is doing out there the best. So if the best home loan out there is 3%, then basically if you don't have the retirement account to pay for your home, you're going to go through the standard process to see if you can pay for your home or to see if you can qualify for a mortgage. You're going to go through the standard process. You're going to pay us 3%. 4%, 5%, whatever we decide it to be. And so the idea is if you start your bank account here and you do all these things, like I'll go over the life insurance in a second, but you have all these things as a one-stop shop, and you start saving for retirement, one day your retirement account is going to be used as leverage to wipe out all of your interest payments at 0% interest, but you're still only making the payments and you're still growing your retirement plan at the same time. And because your majority percentage, because what you're using to eliminate the debt payment is only in the bonds, that's because I can sell your bonds that you're holding and I'm holding in your retirement account. I get it. If you put collateral against it to have a 0% APR on that retirement account, I get to liquidate that bond if you go sell your thing. If you try to get out of this by going and selling your house, like I get to liquidate the bond that paid for the house and you get the money for the house. I have collateral. And right now, everybody's got collateral out there in their retirement accounts of $28.3 trillion, but they're paying interest on their fucking home and on their credit cards and on their cars and everything. And it should be able to be used if put in the right spot, like a bond that's a AAA bond, because you know it's going to pay, because it's a mortgage and these people have jobs and they're building and they're doing things that are undeniable to the community. And obviously there'll be people that have to default. And that's why as a strong bank, if you're having strong standards, high standards, like you won't ever have to worry about people going to 0% APR and you not making money off them without getting your money back because you have the retirement account and the bonds are going to be good. Like bonds don't fail, people. The reason life insurance companies been around for 120 years is because bonds don't fail. Now, are there bonds that do fail? Yes, but they aren't AAA rated bonds. They're bonds that go out there and then the business fails. And that's when a bond fails. But as long as your business is profitable, whether it's real estate or something else, then the bonds never fail. And it's such a small percentage of the ones that, like clients that don't pay and all this other stuff that are able to get approved, that every bank has been able to survive for all this time. And now 2008 got crazy because they just got rid of the lending practices. Anyone can get approved for anything, basically. And then Now we're in a problem of inflation and a money printing problem where like the money's just not fair anymore. And so it creates this like defeat in the human mind. And there's a lot less people working today than there was a year ago. I guarantee that worldwide. And basically, through a bank, you can bring the people together and then use everybody's assets in a very safe and practical manner to build each other up. Create the jobs that pay well to allow people to live under this type of system where their retirement plan is going to get them to retirement in 10, 15 years of hard work. Imagine getting out of school at 18 knowing you're going to go make what the world would say is like 200,000 right now, because that number like is just a number. If inflation happens, like you might need to make $1 million a year, but $1 million a year might not buy you more than a 3,000 square foot house and just be able to pay bills and maybe save 10% of your income. Like money's like it's all just a number, right? And it's all relative to what everyone else is doing. And so if like America was great because of the idea that you could start at the bottom, work super hard, and build your way up. Now, that's true, and I believe that you can still do that, but you got to have skills in order to do that. You got to be willing to take a risk, and you got to be willing to do all this, like go through the pain of learning what it takes to actually go be able to do stuff like that, whether it's sales, building, construction, and then combining it all together, start a business. Like, it's a lot of freaking work that most people just never want to go through. I know I didn't want to go through it. Like, I did it because I felt like I had to, not because I wanted to. And when you, like basically this will be the opportunity where, like, the opportunity to do it the way that, like, they claim the American dream to be, of like get a good job, have a family, and retire early and go travel the world and have great times. Like that should be available to any man. The idea of the American dream was that it was available to every man. Now it's available to every man that's willing to go out there and learn it for himself. But the problem is there's no place out there that's willing to just say do this 5 things every day for 10 years and have this as your calendar and you will get what you want. What I'm saying, through this system, that's exactly what we can create. And right now the housing crisis is so bad, we could turn every man in this country into a builder and just keep building houses and make them great houses. But not every man wants to be a builder, and not every man should have to be a builder. And that's why there is college, and that's why there is computers, and that's why there is all this other opportunity out there in this world. Like, if you know that you're not meant to be building, fine, go do whatever you want to do. But there's a lot of people out there that don't know anything and want to be given a real opportunity to excel. And this $14 an hour, like you can go find roofing jobs right now and they're only paying $60,000 a year. You can't get me to roof every day for the next 10 years for $60,000 a year. You're freaking crazy if you think I'm going to do that. It's never going to happen. I'll work hard for my money, but my money got to be like, it's got to be a game plan for my escape. It's not a way to make somebody like the boss man enough money to retire while I have to just go figure out myself when he's done. That's not how this works. And so, literally, the plan of the person, of the builder, of the employees, they got to be built into the plan of accepting the job that is going to get them to where they want to be, and they're happy signing the deal. And so, let's talk about life insurance. Top of the food chain umbrella. The goal is to get everything under your life insurance umbrella, but you have to build it out. And so, here's the thing. Life insurance is not very expensive, actually. If I'm 30 years old, I actually bought a policy. So me, myself, right? Marcus Ray bought a policy from Mutual of Omaha. I have currently $500,000 of death benefit. I can put $12,000 a year into this system, and the first year I lose all $12,000, or if it takes me 5 years to put into $12,000, then I would lose the $12,000 in the first 5 years. After that, every $12,000 that I put in, so then this would be 0. Then I put in, so let's do this. Now, this is going to be invested. This is going to be cash value. And this is going to be loan. And then this is going to be total allowed. So the idea is this. So this is always going to equal this plus this. This is going to equal this. Then we're going to have this stay at 0 for now. And then if we come down one more for this, this is going to be 12,000, and then this is going to be, hang on, so equals this plus this minus the loan. And then let's make this $5,000. So if we look at this, if I invested this and I lost my 12,000, now if I become the life insurance company, if I can become the bank, I can eliminate this first 12,000 down to 0. I don't have to charge you any money. Like literally my $500,000 of life insurance that allows me this plan, my life insurance fee is $300 a month. So actually I don't even think it's that much. I know it's not. It's probably like $240. So let's just say $3,000 a year. Now, we'll have the first fee be part of that. And then this is going to be, the loan is, okay, so we'll do plus, okay. So what you get is a plan where I invest $12,000 a year, and I've been borrowing from this as much as I need to. And my current cash value is $59,000, and this isn't counting my ROI. So once you have the bond and the S&P 500 matching plan, then you're getting a profit on this as well. But the idea is what I'm trying to explain here is that this is you taking out $8,000 of the dollars that you put in every day. Oh, there we go. And so you put in 12,000, but you take out 8,000, and you're also paying 3,000. And when you do it like this, ultimately, what's happening is you're allowed to invest 168,000, but you only have a cash value of 60,000, and so you have a net loan amount of, let's just say, 108,000, and basically any money you have in any of these accounts up here, we would start to fall under this umbrella. And the goal is whatever money you have up in here to build a life insurance plan to where in a short period of time you can get all your money in your life insurance plan. And the government says, based off how much you put in a year, says how much life insurance you have. And in order to be able to put more in per year, you have to buy more life insurance. And basically, there are a ton of benefits that come with life insurance. Protection of assets. So there is no stronger way to avoid being sued for your money. Divorce, alimony, all of it. There's no better way to protect that money than life insurance. Anything under this life insurance umbrella cannot be targeted by the outside world. It is whoever the policy owner is. If it's your husband and the wife on the policy together and you guys get a joint policy, which is totally allowed, then yes, both of you guys would own that policy. But as a single person that comes in, like you get in a car accident, they can't come after your life insurance umbrella. So, protection of assets, like huge. Huge, huge. Why would you want to create this and pay for life insurance? Well, first off, if you do have anyone you care about, like when you die, you can, if you die before your time, like you shouldn't have died, you have money that will change the life of the person that, or people that depended on you. Like, so naturally life insurance is a good thing because you're not sending somebody to be like lost without you. And so if everybody that ever had someone die in their life and it made their life hard had a giant life insurance policy behind it, like obviously their life would have been a lot easier and it would allow them to do things, not just like retire. I mean, maybe that's like, maybe they're old and like retirement's the thing that like you want for them. But maybe they're young and like they know that you taught them and raised them with good morals and they already have their bank account and they're just going to add this in to their current financial system and they're not going to think of like retirement as an end goal, but like something that's always building and always changing, and depending on how their life changed the way they want it to change, they manipulate their own life. And like we have people that can help people understand their current situations and show them through this process. And so the idea is your protection of assets. You under this bond, and so profits in all states except for New York are non-taxable until withdraw. And no withdrawals will ever happen as you only take loans in your secure retirement umbrella and banking umbrella. This life insurance stays with you till you die, and when you die, all your assets are paid out as a death benefit from the policy, including paying off your loans, and the remainder goes to your beneficiaries tax-free. So I strongly recommend leaving New York or having at least a location you can claim residency outside of New York. And make sure you buy your policy not as a New York policy, but a different policy. But that's a different story for a later day. Now, basically what this means is any amount that I have of cash value in my life, like I would never have a loan amount of the 168,000 and then have 60,000 in cash value and be taking out $8,000 a year and then be sitting with a retirement account of bonds in my 401k doing all this other extra stuff. Instead, my 401k would be hard transferred into my VUL. So there's a variable universal life. And you don't have to do the bond to investment. Just the bond, like that's the plan that everyone can do, everyone can follow. We'll give you a job to start building, and all of it, like it builds a long-term, steady, safe, consistent plan that can allow anyone to retire legitimately based off all the world's numbers that exist today. Like this is what anyone could go through and retire in 10 years with a beautiful account. And what I'm getting at is you wouldn't have money in this umbrella, in your retirement account umbrella, while you have a difference of $108,000 right here. If I have $108,000 right here, then that's falling under the variable universal life umbrella. And the goal is to get this higher and higher. And the more assets I get, maybe I have $500,000 in my retirement plan. And so if I only have $108,000 of, or I guess a total of $168,000 of possible investment, then only 33% of my portfolio is covered under the umbrella. I mean, the volume's so low, it doesn't look like anyone's selling. It just looks like the price is crashing. It looks like they're manipulating the stocks. Again, like always. Let's see what we're closing at. AMC at 39 bucks. I would not worry about it, people. I would not worry about it. Whoo, the NASDAQ hit down negative 3% today and closed down basically 1% on Friday. So it's down 4% in 2 days. That's impressive. That's impressive. The Dow down 3% in 2 days. The S&P down 3.5% in 2 days. This is the biggest drop, I think, in 2 days since January. So probably since March of 2020. I mean, when that whole volatility thing happened. But, yeah, this is... I just hope it keeps going. AMC's about to bounce back. I don't think AMC goes lower than 38 bucks. When it hit $30, there was starting to be 200 million of volume a day of buying pressure. So if it goes down to 30, there's so little it will bring the buyers in. They know that's where the diamond handlers are. They know $30 is the last bottom that it hit. Like, I don't think it's going to hit 30. I really don't. I think 38 is, I think it's already at its low, really. I mean, it might trade sideways for a little bit, but I think it's headed back up, people. All right, so we got the life insurance. We build everything under the variable universal life. If I have $168,000 in my retirement portfolio, it's all under this umbrella. I can put as much as I want in the bonds, as much as I want in the annual S&P 500 return, and then as much as I want as investing in my own. If I want to do all my own self-investments and I don't want to use any of my retirement account as a way to offset my other assets of like mortgages and stuff to get a 0% APR on everything that I'm making payments on, then I would simply still be under the variable universal life. And like, let's say you go and you invest in AMC and it makes $1 million, you would be under the universal life. All your gains get added to this number. All your gains. So this is plus then total allowed plus gains. Okay, so we'll say plus gains. So if I come in here and I make if I'm variable universal life and I'm using the perfect banking system platform to trade stocks and buy options, and all of a sudden I make $1 million with $10,000 of my $168,000. Now my new amount is going to be 1,168,000. And so if I had, let's just say $1 million in here, I can come out and I can loan 500,000 to myself in cash straight to my checking account if I wanted to, and I wouldn't owe a single penny of tax on it. And now, if I go get $500,000 from somewhere else, I can come in and the first $500,000 is going to come back into my umbrella of my variable universal life because it's protected assets. And then anything that I save on top of that can go into my remaining accounts. But let's just say that you're making, so let's just say you're making 10% a year. We'll say 8% a year because people like to be conservative. I feel like 8%'s fair. That plus itself, then this would be equals, instead it would be T, oops, hold on, hang on, so it would be, there we go. Then, so instead of there, on the second one, we're going to have to move this guy to, oh, it's going to be the third one actually. So on the third one, we're going to have to move this guy to this guy. Hang on. So take 8,000 plus 369. That'd be 17,000. Put me at 33,000. So that's close enough. Okay. So I'm only making 10% on the money that I actually have in cash. I'm not making 10% on the total allowable investment contributions. Or 8%, sorry, is what I said. Then this guy equals... There we go. So if you're taking out $8,000 every single year after 2 years, if you're only putting in $12,000, so I mean we're talking a 60-40 ratio here, then, and you're making 8% on your money, you'd actually be here. Hang on. So I didn't get these numbers exactly right. I'm going to have to remake this. And so this is just me live streaming, and I'm building it out right now. I'm building out all my ideas, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to rinse out all the problems, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to make a short video that goes over everything all at one time as I organize it, and kind of create a pitch out of what the real opportunity in this world is. $45 is not hella red at 39. That is not hella red. You just got in, bro. You're fine. You'll be okay. You're just getting started. AMC's hitting 2,000 minimum. AMC's hitting 2,000 minimum. You're talking about losing 6, 10%, whatever. It don't matter. AMC's going hella green. It's a fact of life. There might be other stocks that do it. AMC's the only one I trust. AMC's the only one not owned by the insiders. When the insiders are told that tapering's happening and everybody got to sell, and it's all about who can sell first to get their money. I don't know. Maybe some of the insiders will hold, and maybe a lot of the outsiders will hold with them, and some of these stocks will actually have a future. But in my opinion, AMC is the only thing that can be trusted because it's the people. The people won't screw themselves. Alrighty. So we understand what I'm trying to get at here. Is there anything else that the life insurance brings? So you're free from lawsuits. It's protected asset from taxes, from lawsuits, from people attacking your money. You're able to, we can build in, so the entire retirement umbrella gets built in under the variable universal life. You'll be able to trade your money on your stock market through this variable universal life. Like, it's just full access to your money just under the universal life. Guys, like, if you have enough assets right here, enough of the total allowable right here of what you're allowed to invest into the actual policy based off how much you've invested per year, based off your life insurance amount, plus your actual returns of wherever you're investing your money, all of that combined, if that number is greater than the total number of dollar assets you have today, then that means your entire life would be covered under this variable life umbrella. And whether it's your checking account, your savings account, everything would operate as a loan, so that your death benefit will pay off the loans one day, and through all of your gains in your life and in your future, you'll pay no taxes. This is, you pay taxes on the money that comes in, but as soon as you put it in this place and it gets under the umbrella, as it grows and as you spend its growth, you'll not pay taxes on it. And then one day you'll die and we'll pay off the debt with your outstanding funds. And if you decide to cancel the whole policy, then the first thing that we do is we take your money to pay off all your loans, and you get whatever's remaining. And so it's not something that you're like locked into. You could always just force withdraw everything into cash into a different bank account if you wanted to, but you'd have to close out your plan. And the only thing that you'll be required to do is pay for your life insurance. And your life insurance will always be the amount of life insurance that you bought plus the amount of cash value that you currently have, plus the amount of cash value. And so you die with both of them together. You add one to the other, and then that's the beneficiary that is paid minus the loans of whatever you took out as a loan. And yes, so this is the bank. This is the perfect bank. There's really no bank that should exist outside of this bank, and it should only be a single bank. There shouldn't be multiple banks. And so how do we make this the perfect bank on the corporate side of the structure? So everyone's scared that one person owns too much power and power corrupts and nothing good's going to happen from me starting this bank and becoming a trillionaire by managing all your guys' money. And even though I'm treating you well, it's like somebody's going to be angry about all this. So how do we make this to where it's good for everybody? First, this is where people keep their assets. This is where people build their foundation of wealth. And so how does the current standard of best practices, best fee practices, is low maintenance fee and low product introduction fees. Meaning, any money in the assets in the umbrella of the perfect bank will charge, let's say, 0.01% Well, to start it probably need to be a little bit higher. We'll start with the 0.1%. So that means if I have $1,000 in here, in order to have my money in this bank, I would have to pay not $100, not $10, but $1. So for every $1,000 you have, every year you'll pay $1. And so this number might have to change. It all depends on how many clients there are, how everything's going. But the idea would be this. .1% of end of year assets. Then, what up, Martins Marant's Rants. I like it. So, any money in the umbrella of the perfect bank will charge. Okay, we'll start with that. Then, small fees to start and get the 0% APR coverage, all your debt, up to your bond limits, bond investments. Small fee to purchase and buy life insurance, purchase and pay for life insurance umbrella. A small renewable 1% on the cost of life insurance. Now, the life insurance is going to be strictly on the actuarial I appreciate you, man. The problem with my YouTube is that there's so much information of like gems that I've dropped throughout my live streams, and there's no place to like go search a library of titles of certain gems that I've dropped. And so someday I'll go through my YouTube probably, but hopefully we just don't need to do that. But yeah, I welcome you to share any of the information you find on my YouTube. It's all free to the world to do what they can. I just want everything to get better in this world as fast as humanly possible. Actuary basis. Healthy contest into better pricing. But a non-med test package will be offered all people on a more pricey cost of insurance, which does not affect you negatively on creating the umbrella of variable universal life banking, but does reduce the amount of life insurance you will have for your beneficiaries. So basically what that means is if I'm an unhealthy person and it looks like I'm going to die in the next 10 to 20 years, typically a life insurance company wouldn't give me life insurance. Or if they do, it's going to be very expensive. But what they don't tell you by very expensive is if it's super expensive for me, the way the government mandates how much you can invest. So if it costs me $500 a month to buy $500,000 of life insurance because I'm healthy, then the person that's going to die in 10 to 20 years, it costs them $500 a month to purchase, let's just say, $25,000 of life insurance. But we're both allowed to invest $12,000 a year. So even though they bought less life insurance because their health rating is lower, they're still allowed to invest the same amount of money as I am and create the same umbrella. They just got to buy, they just get penalized on the amount of life insurance that they're going to be able to give to their family on top of whatever it is they're saving. And so everyone should have life insurance. Everyone can build this umbrella. I don't care if you have diabetes. I don't care if you have health problems. A lot of people, they think they wouldn't qualify, but they only don't qualify because a life insurance company hasn't created the plan that allows them to qualify. But the way the government numbers work and the way the mandates are created by the actuarials that are the experts that created the mathematical proofs of how many clients it would take versus how many are expected to die based off the laws of probability, based off the data of our medical system that we've been tracking for 100 years. This is what the actuarials are doing, and there's just never been a value added to the life insurance enough that they needed to market to those people. But this isn't about needing to market to anybody. This is about being able to market to everybody, offering the best possible scenario in all situations, and then bringing everyone together. And people buy what they can afford to start. People get involved. You can find work here. You can do everything here, whether it's building or some type of helping the process. And a lot of people are able to just go out into the world and be successful on their own. Like, they know how to meet people. They know how to create opportunities. They know how to invest what they got and go build something bigger. And this is the way that we all come together under one umbrella where everyone's getting the best of everything. AMC's closing nice. SPY crashing 70 in 2 days. Banks are taking money out of the S&P. No, I think money's being lost right now. I don't think this is about taking money out of one place and putting it in another place. I think this is about inflation, and that the whole stock system has been getting pumped by the Fed as much as they've been pumping the treasuries and pumping the bonds. They've been pumping the stock market as well. And because the treasury's out of money, like, I see this as being a reason for, like, the government is basically... The government is at a standstill where China's exposed their problems. We're associated to that exposure with our own investment. And so in order to pay, like, they're trying to get themselves out of that exposure. So they're probably selling monies to cover there. And then like this is like it's an added effect of the treasury stuff. So here's the thing: if the government gets together, they raise the debt ceiling, they print another $3.5 trillion. I think we'll have another 30 to 60 days of bullcrap that we've been dealing with for the last 12 months. But I 100% believe there will be a day where the Band-Aid has to be pulled off. There will not be a slow process to tapering. Tapering is either going to happen or it's not. And it won't be this thing where we can slowly bring the S&P 500 down to $3,000 again and then retry it and not build it up to 4,500 based off just pumping money, but build it up to 4,500 based off business growing and earnings increasing and the retail coming in to invest our money. Oh man, I don't know. It's crazy, but yeah, AMC's back up to $40.33. I could see it dipping again a little bit, like doing a small dips for a couple days, but AMC's about to pop. It can't go much lower. The lower it goes, the more the volume picks up, and the more the volume picks up, the closer retail gets to owning every single share. And the closer retail gets to owning every single share, the closer you are to AMC hitting $2,000 a share minimum before people start selling. When it squeezes, I think it'll squeeze to $2,000 a share to start. And then there'll be a battle past the 2,000, but I think it'll break 2,000 as well. Okay, so we just created the idea. Okay. Now we're going to talk about ownership of the bank, decision making of the bank. There is the profit ownership. There is the ownership of profit. And the ownership of executive action. Basically, we'll do 10% for me, 10% for the person or people that make the bank a reality, and 80% to a MLM ownership. So if we're holding $1 trillion and we charge 0.1%, then that would be not 100 billion, not 10 billion, but $1 billion that is taken out in fees. If we're holding $1 trillion in assets through all of our clients, $1 billion would be taken out. And of that $1 billion, I would get $100 million. Of that $1 billion, the people that help me make this bank a reality, if I can't do it by myself, like this is something I'm never going to stop until it's done. And so if it ends up being a group of people that help me, they'll get 10%, they'll get $100 million of that 0.1%. Then of the other $800 million, it would get paid out in the 80% to the clients and the referral base. And I'll create a little platform of what that kind of looks like. So 80% MLM would look like you get 10% of anyone who signed up, any of their bank, with your referral. And referrals actually, we're going to leave that there. So non-referral, referral, 80% will go to a fund where the retail owns equal vote, 2%. Their cash is to bank's total collateral. The public submit proposals for the clients to vote. Anytime a vote reaches 51% yes from the bank clients, then the proposal is funded. So let's just say 100 people invested in Wells Fargo and they owned 100% of all the, like they invested 100% of all the money that Wells Fargo is holding on to. And let's just say it's $10,000 and these 100 people each own $100. Well, at the end of the year, that $10,000 is going to have a fee of $10, right? So 10 goes to 1,000 would be 10%, then 100 would be 1%, and then 0.1% would be $10. So there's $10 that's taken from that fund. Of that $10, I would get $1. The people that helped me start this would get $1. Then $8 would go into this fund, and this fund would be a website where people can come and submit business ideas, charity ideas. It doesn't matter. Anything that costs money and they don't got the money, they can come to this place and create a proposal, make videos, answer questions, work with the community, whatever. And if people vote yes on it, then more people will look at it. And the more people vote yes, the more people are going to look. And then eventually, if it hits 51%, as long as the amount requested is within the budget of what the fund is collected from the $8, so there's $8 in this fund. As long as it's only $8, then it would pay. But the next year there'll be $16, and then if we don't have $10,000, but we have $1 trillion, then it would be $800 million, right? And this fund is designed to spend money because it's just going to sit there and rot until you find people to give it to because you trust what they're going to do with it. And obviously the bank will set this, as the running the bank, will set the standard, making sure they live up to the plan that they set, and that they have plans of how the money is going to get spent and all that good stuff. But you guys would be able to choose which ideas should be funded and which ones shouldn't be funded. And so if somebody is referred, then I get the 10%. My guy gets my helper gets the 10%, and then the 80% would get chopped up through referrals. 10% is the most anyone can get off a referral. 10% of whatever that 0.1% fee is going to be. 10% of whatever the life insurance cost is going to be. 10% of whatever all of it's going to be. And it can go down 8 generations. We'll say 7 generations because 10% always got to go to the fund. And we just create this beautiful fund. of money, and it's just slush money that just sits there in bonds until someone has a good idea what to do with it. And so let's write that out. Okay, so if a client signs up without referral, 10% creator, 10% financier, 80% slush fund. If a client signs up with a referral, 10% creator, 10% financier, 10% slush fund, 70% up to 7 generation of payments, 10% each. 10% is the most. Get before the rest go to the slush fund. And the market is closed. Let's see how everything did. The NASDAQ and everything recovered a little bit. We'll see if that stands tomorrow. AMC recovered slightly. Sitting at 40.29. Bouncing a little bit in the after hours. That's cool. My birthday's on Thursday, everybody. My birthday's on Thursday. Like, this could be the week. Something special could happen this week. I sure feel like it might. All right. Let's see here. Then, so the idea is if I go and I tell 10 people that I know to go get this bank account because it's easily the best bank account. If you don't have this bank account, it's because you're mentally handicapped. They sign up for the bank account for that referral. Then I get 10% of 0.1%. So I get 0.01% of all the money they hold in the account at the end of the year. And every year that follows. Every time they go tell someone, I get 10% of whatever they're holding. And then 10% of anyone they refer. And 10% of anyone they refer. Up to 7 generations. And it's about getting everybody into the same bank and everybody making money off of it. And we get the best banking. We get the best finance. We get the best interest rates. We get the best retirement plan. We get the best life insurance umbrella protection from taxes and from like lawsuits and stuff. And then we just charge a very, very small fee that, based on having a lot of people bank with us and keep their money with us, would pay out a lot of money. And then we just spread that money out. And then the majority of this money goes to the slush fund, where if any time someone makes a proposal, there's more than enough money to do any proposal anyone can think of in this fund. And anytime someone makes a proposal, if it gets more than 51%, then they will get a partnership with the bank to spend the set money for their proposal to try to accomplish their goal. If it accomplishes, great. Then maybe they'll go back and they'll do another offer for more money. If it doesn't work out, or something and things can change, right? Maybe it stops working. But really, you should never take more than what you know what you're going to do with it, and you know how you're going to do it. And so it really just opens up the whole, whoever's inside of the bank, if you need at least 51% to say yes to spend the slush fund, then as long as one person doesn't have 51% of all the money, it lets the people vote together and come together. And so the more people, the better, obviously. If you're holding 100 trillion, if you're holding, let's just say $5 trillion in this, because there's 100 trillion in the stock market already. That doesn't count the bonds. That doesn't count the real estate. That doesn't count so much stuff. But if you just got $10 trillion in there, you'd have so many investors, so many different unique investors that like no one person will own more than 3% of the entire money system. And so it would allow everyone to come together, get the value, and grow. Not big money, at least not to start. I mean, if you invite 10 people and all those people invite 10 people 7 generations down, like, you're probably going to be making a fat chunk of money. I mean, tens of thousands of dollars, I would assume, especially if they're all people that are working and saving for retirement and over 10 years building $1 million in their retirement fund. All that type of stuff, like, regardless what the number is, regardless what inflation happens, like, we're going to have to build past it, right? And this is the way to do it. And so we'll probably have 2 slush funds. One where each get 50% of slush fund contributions. Where each get 50% of the, and one is for the people, clients only, and then one is for bonds, buildings, businesses, and loans. And so basically one of the slush funds is going to be, so if you come in and say, I want to use my retirement account to get a 0% APR on my house, then we're going to take from this second slush fund, and this is the thing that I'm going to be in charge of, basically. So second slush fund, not of the people's vote, will be 50% owned by creator, which is me, and then 25% owned by the financier, and 25% owned by the retail. And in order for any money to be spent on the second slush fund to operate standard business banking practices to grow a community, there must be a 76% approval vote. Meaning, if you don't have me, you don't get to spend the money. I have to be involved in it, and I have to be saying yes. But also meaning, if everybody that's involved on the financier side says no to it, then the money doesn't get spent. And then if everybody on the retail side, and so maybe we'll say 75%. Because I don't think either one of them should be able to overrule entirely. But 75%. So either I'm on the same page with the financiers, 100%, there's no question, and we don't need to go ask the public. Or the financiers disagree with what I think, and I need to go to the public to get their vote on a certain proposal. And the idea for this, it will be literally, we're going to create a bond based on real estate, based on building something and then selling it to a buyer. and based off the interest payments they're going to be making on the property until the selling goes, we'll pay the 5% that we need in our retirement portfolios where we're getting our bond rates. And the more bonds that we have, the more investments we can accept. So think about this. If $1 trillion comes into my bank and they all want to be in the retirement account and they want 80% of their money in the bond and the other 20% on the options of the S&P 500 to get their average 15% annual ROI, well, if I don't have $1 trillion worth of bonds to invest in, then I can't, I can go look at the public bonds, but am I going to trust those bonds in a world like we live in today? Meh. Maybe there's some that we could find. I'm sure there's some good ones out there. But I'd rather replicate what they're doing that makes them a good bond and do it ourselves under supervision and make sure it's done appropriately and make sure there is no way to drop the ball, because everything's transparent, everything is open, and if there's a problem, it's found before it becomes a serious problem and a resolution is found for this problem. I think the name of this bank is going to be Perfect Bank. Something stupid like that. If you don't got it, it's because you're an idiot. Hey bro, you got the bank yet? What do you mean do I got the bank yet? The Perfect Bank. I've never heard of no Perfect Bank. Well bro, it basically does everything for you and perfects your financial life. And as far as you want to take it, they'll help you with. And they've cut out all the bullcrap all the other banks are offering. And they just cut right to the chase and give you the best to have of every aspect of the financial system. If you don't have it, if you don't at least start with the basics and then slowly build into the rest of it, it's because you're not thinking. You're mentally handicapped. That's the conversation that needs to be had with everybody, because that's what it's going to be like. It's the perfect bank. So why would you go anywhere else? And so the corporate's going to look something like that. Yeah. And then I'm all for loans of, and so this second slush fund, basically they'll be the ones where people are posting stuff to the public, and there'll be ones that I like, and I'm going to go to those people and say, okay, we're going to pay you out of this slush fund because it's a good idea and it's going to make money and you can build a business, you got the credentials, whatever it is, so let's go do it. You don't need to get the 51% from the people. And it'd basically start there, and then I'd cherry pick the ones that I think are automatically good, and I don't need to wait for society to approve them, because I'm going to go approve it in the second slush fund, and we're just going to get things rolling. And more building. There is not nearly enough homes in this country, not with the number of people we have right now, not with the number of people we're going to have. We need to get back to family building. We do not want to depopulate. We want to increase population. I've driven all over this country. There is so much land to build on. And so whether we got people in this bank that are building farms so that we can feed everybody and they like living out in the middle of nowhere, that's cool. But a lot of the buildings just going to be happening on the outside of already big area, because we want to be as close as we can be to each other. Now, obviously, that's not for everybody, but you can be connected even if you're not in the same state or anywhere else. So that doesn't really matter. But I think that it matters to a lot of people, and I think a lot of people don't want to be alone, and a lot of people need a helping hand, and they need somebody guiding them to their own glory and success, and they need a step-by-step plan of what they can do to make their life great. And if the true American dream exists, there are people out there that are struggling and not always living their best life and maybe hurting other people because they feel hopeless. And this is what the type of idea, the type of system, the type of construct that can give people hope. And again, I'm willing to manipulate all these numbers and make it a little bit more, like, if we find something that ends up not being fair, like, I would just think on the first slush fund that gets half of it, that's for the retail, just basically make it to where, like, you can't have more than $1 million to be considered part of that or something. Or maybe we'll create 2 slush funds inside of there. Or maybe there'll be 3 slush funds. One for the big money, for the people that think they're the experts of the world and think that they can do anything. One for me and my financier and all this other stuff. And then one for the retail of people that have, all the people get a vote that have less than $1 million combined. And that way the little people have a voice as well. And then that way, if one day if one bank had all the money and all these places that are billionaires and all these different people held all their assets under this one bank, then it wouldn't just be the top 5% controlling 51% of the value of the vote. Because the way that I want the value of the vote is not per person, but per dollar that you have invested. And so with the people under $1 million, if there's 1 million people of you and you guys average $1 million, then a piece, and let's just say there's 100 of you, and you guys average $1 million a piece, then that means there's a total of 100 million votes, and whoever can get 51 million of those votes, then they would get the right to get the money from the slush fund, and I will be forced to work with them and make sure that their plan has the best opportunity of success as possible, and I'll do everything in my power to make sure it goes that way. And if it works, then I'm sure either I will see the brilliance of it and I will help with my own slush fund, or they'll go back to the people and ask for more. I believe there can be a step-by-step plan. I think, the problem is, women are willing to build, though. I've met some women that are willing to put in hard work on a construction site, but for the most part, it's not what they want to do. And so I think there'd be a part of, like, education inside this bank where it's almost like a homeschooling system that is connected all the homeschooling people together, and it's about learning good education that helps you, that equips you with tools to take on your own future. And then it's about equipping you with physical strength and understanding that your health is important. And then it'd just really be about, like, convincing you as a kid to become whatever it is you think you're supposed to be the best version of whatever it is you want to be. And everybody's idea of that is different, and not everyone will hit the best version of what they think of themselves, but if you build somebody that way, they'll always come up light years ahead of what they thought they'd ever get, and they'll always end up having more than they could ever imagine. And so I could see the education system being a great way for women to bring a lot of value. I could see the building way for a great way for any man to bring a lot of value. And then outside of that, you'll still have all the other opportunities the world offers. So if you want to go to college and get a master's degree in computer science and be a great programmer, like, they're always going to pay you a ton of money to go build websites and sell things and all this other stuff, right? But this is about creating community where everyone can be successful, not just the people that are naturally great, or the people that are willing to force themselves to be naturally great and go through that pain of learning and understanding that anyone can do it, but man, it takes a lot of work. I mean, in my opinion, they stopped teaching. I feel like I grew up like that all the way from high school. By the time I got out of high school, I felt like I wasted a lot of time in there on a lot of classes that didn't teach me what I needed to know to go take on the world. But like I also felt like I knew enough to go take on the world. Like I knew enough to learn. I knew enough to study, and if I see an opportunity, to gauge the opportunity and find out if it's fake or not, and to go out there and experience the world and see what the world's got for me, and then take what's good from it and leave behind the bad. Leave behind the lies, leave behind the corruptness, leave behind the scammy sales pitches. And so I think schooling should be about getting your kid to be self-sustaining as soon as possible. I think your kid should be graduated from high school. Like I wish I would have graduated from high school at the age of 14. I was like, anything I learned after the age of 14 was something that I didn't really learn. But the problem was I wasn't man enough to be graduated at the age of 14. I was raised spoiled. I was raised to get whatever I want. And so I didn't enjoy pain enough to be able to go out into the world and dominate as a 14-year-old boy. Not even close. I just didn't want nothing to do with it. Like I could go out and work at a job and work really hard and do the 40,000 a year and build it to 60,000 a year and eventually 80,000 a year at like a quick trip or something like that. But I needed more than that, and so I think I kind of like coasted through high school as a way to kind of get associated with people in the world. First time I like really got friends and started hanging out on weekends and different things was, I mean, I did a little bit in elementary school, but junior high I was a total loner. And then high school I started like with my wrestling team, started to party and stuff, and get exposed to the world and talk to people and all that good stuff. And then there's a matter of not being the party life, but taking what I learned in high school of being able to see opportunity and define it and just basically do like simple stuff of communicating. And then I went and searched for opportunities. And so now I can talk to people. Now I can pursue these opportunities. And I just think that if we're raising our kids with these mindsets to become adults as soon as possible, and it doesn't mean that they don't get to have fun. Like, I'm fucking 30 years old and nobody likes going to the hotel stay and swimming in the pool and chilling in the hot tub more than I do. I loved it as a kid and I love it now. And so I don't know. I think a lot of people use the excuse of, oh, they're just kids. Let them be kids. Let kids be kids. And it's like, no. They're just kids means they're allowed to make mistakes and they're allowed to have fun with their friends. And like, we don't necessarily expect them to pay bills for themselves and go out and get a job yet. Maybe a summer job, maybe something that builds a little character. But we don't expect them to be a self-sustaining adult. But everybody should be coming out of school as a self-sustaining adult. They know the minimum worst thing that they could do. They know the next level if they want to go do this. They know they could get into debt and go to school. They can do all these different things. And it's up for them to decide what the right decision is. But the problem is, right now, most people struggling, they don't think there is an opportunity. They don't know what to do. And the $14 an hour bullcrap ain't an answer. So someone like me, I got great experience on roofing and all this stuff. Like, but I don't have, like, so if you just looked up on roofing jobs right now, you can either be a project manager for $60K a year, which I could go do, or I could be an installer of roofs for $60K a year, which I could go do. But the problem is, that work that it takes to do that stuff is not worth it in my mind for $60K a year. Like, I love the idea of being able to go do a job and being able to, like, not take on any real responsibility or stress other than making sure I do good work. But I'm not going to do it for a dollar amount that never lets me escape where I am today. And so, if I were to commit to one of these $60K a year jobs, I would just find myself end up storm chasing. And I'd be working with some roofing company at that storm, knocking on doors, selling contracts. And I'd make more than $60K a year. And I'd have, I'd have the responsibility of forcing myself to go knock on doors and like being my own boss, which does take some type of inner character, which I don't always want to have because like I hate putting that much pressure on myself. But it allows me the income that I need to be able to live a life of, I mean, I wouldn't call it luxury, but a life of not total shit. And so, if we created a system where, let's just say we create a bond option for anybody, for all, for, let's say, for builders. So I do think that people should be qualified, have licenses and whatnot to be an owner of a company. But I believe anyone can get to that level by going, but everyone, so if you have a company that's a roofing company, you should have a platform designed to take somebody through the steps that they want to go through to start their own roofing company and get their own bond from the bank. If they got the wherewithal to do it and become a builder and become an excellent builder, and over the 5 to 10 year period, not only are they saving for their retirement, but they're also learning every phase of the aspect so that they can do what you do. You better in your business have that process set up for somebody to come and march through the ranks. Not everybody wants to. Some people will just want to install that roof. And we're going to find a way through this retirement plan where everybody, through everything that we fund, everybody's got a plan. And the plan makes sense. And some people got to work a little bit longer, but some people work a little bit harder. But everybody gets to a point where they got enough to take care of themselves. They got enough to do what they need to do. Retirement, somebody else can come and fill their job. And then, like, retirement isn't just about not doing anything anymore. It's about having enough money that you can do whatever you want to do. You get $200,000 a year. You want to give $50,000 away every year just to people that you meet everywhere you go as you travel the world and spend $150,000? That's up to you, bro. But the problem is, right now, nobody, like, even the people that finally get there, they're finally 60 years old and they got a couple million in the bank, and it's like, they worked so hard and they sacrificed so much that their life is so, like, they couldn't imagine spending all that money and getting back to zero. Like, they're deathly afraid of losing a dollar. Like, they don't spend money like it's cool to spend money, and it's definitely cool to spend money. If you making money and not spending it, oh man, I couldn't imagine. Couldn't imagine. And so, if we have a bond option for builders, basically, you meet the minimum business standards of pay to employees and opportunity. We take from the slush fund and we spend the money as needed to build your property, pay your business expenses, until the project is complete, and the debts are repaid through individuals purchasing the property at the necessary bond rate percentage needed. So for example, if somebody goes and builds 100 homes for $100 million, and let's say this is going to cost them $50 million, okay, so sell price, cost, price. And let's say it's going to take 3 years. Well, if we're going to front the $50 million to this builder for the 3 years, we're going to charge a premium on that 3 years. So right now we're talking about 5% bonds. Well, 5% of $50 million is going to be $2.5 million. So over 3 years, that'd be $7.5 million that we'd need when there's no money coming in. But let's say we're going to double that to 10%. So now we're taking $15 million. So it's the cost. So now we'll do, now our return is $15 million. Then that leaves remaining capital would be $35 million. Now between the loan costs, so mortgage costs, and fees to that $100 million, or of the 100 homes, would be, let's just say it's going to be, you're buying $1 million house. I mean, you got your down payment. Well, let's just say the fees are going to be 2% of whatever it is. So 1% of $1 million would be $10,000. So $20,000 times that by 100 would be $200,000, $2 million. So let's just bump it up to $5 million. So we're going to say $5 million to have the mortgages transferred to individual owners to get people. Actually, we're going to do more because you got to sell this to people, right? So maybe sometimes we'll be able to have all the buyers be people within our bank, and like they're pulling out their retirement accounts and stuff to get 0% APR and making monthly payments on these things. That might be a thing. But let's say that you also gotta like go out there and market half the homes, and you gotta sell these homes to different buyers, and it's not just the people in our community. Then let's say that's going to cost money. Overall, going into this thing, there's going to be a builder's profit. So the person that owns the bank, owns the building company that managed the crews and crews of people to build $100 million homes, they're going to end up making, let's just say 10% of whatever the job cost is. They make profit after everything's said and done, as long as they didn't drop the ball. As long as the fault can't be brought back on them of why the money didn't pay out like it was supposed to. And a lot of this mortgage costs and fees can be like, you could sell this property before you even start building it. If you show the plans, you can create these prospectuses and people can say, yes, I want in early. And so ultimately the idea is through this, we can in here make it to where every single aspect of the home builders are making enough money, the materials making enough money. And if that means $1 million home today is 5,000 square feet, but $1 million home in the future is 2,500 square feet because we got to pay the laborers more, because everybody got to make enough money to be able to fit in a plan like this, so we can bring a full client value and anyone can get out of the rat race in 10 years, even if they don't know how to do it themselves. They can plug in here, the American dream. That's what you can offer. So by bringing a bank together, by building your own bonds, by managing it and making sure, like basically this is what China was doing, right? The Evergrande, and they fucked up because their builders weren't building. They made deadlines they couldn't hold to. They don't have the workforce to finish what they started. Well, in my mind, I'm not taking a job from a company until I see who their employees are, how much they're getting paid, and knowing that everybody's in this for the long haul and that everyone's agreed to what they got to do, and they understand what their responsibilities are and what they're getting for it, and it creates a potential plan that everyone gets some at least minimum form of success. That's where we are, people. That's what it looks like. And all it is about recruiting more people to come get the perfect bank. Hey, have you got the perfect bank yet? No? Man, you must be retarded. What's wrong with you? And then inside the corporate structure, like if somebody starts let's just say an investment account, any fees that come with that investment account, like there shouldn't be a lot of fees, but maybe with like some of the additional features we can offer to better your performance for self-investing, like we could charge for stuff like that. Again, all of it would just get split up. 10% to the creator, 10% to the financiers, 80% to the slush funds, or 80% down the referral line. So if you got referred by somebody, 7 generations, boom, 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 boom. And then it creates an incentive for people to become referral machines. And they're not selling anything. They're just saying, go get your bank account here. If you don't bank here, you're an idiot. I like AMC, Chris. AMC is the only thing I like right now. Options or not. AMC is the only thing I trust right now. There might be a couple stocks like Tesla and other things that end up getting diamond handed by the institutional buyers and the insiders. Maybe GME, maybe like PSTH, and they got some good option pricing. But AMC is the only thing I know that will go back up. AMC is the only thing that I know will go back up. And I think a lot of things will go to zero. I think a lot of people are going to go bankrupt. A lot of businesses are Ponzi schemes, and they don't have nearly as much profit potential ever to match what their current valuation of their companies are, and that there's no way that they could restructure their business to aim towards that direction because no one inside the business has that type of foresight. And so I think one of the things that will happen, like I don't necessarily think everything has to go to zero, but I think a lot of things have to crumble, and then we'll see what things stand out. And yeah, I would only trust the things that you think people are rallying behind a CEO and think that they could save the world, or the people, and the people have chosen AMC. I like the PSTH not just because of the option pricing, but because what they done to the stock price. So when I first saw it, it was at $30 a share, and it fell all the way now to $19 a share. And when it was at $30 a share and a $5 billion market cap, they just spent $4 billion on an actual company. So this was one of those SPACs where people just throw in a bunch of money and say, we're a new stock. And they took this SPAC and took $4 billion and bought an actual company that's been earning money for a long time. And they spent $4 billion on it, and the market cap is exactly that. And so I feel like they probably are not overpriced right now, even though their earnings haven't been coming in above. They own an actual infrastructure of business. And I don't think they would have paid $4 billion for something that was nothing. And since I started talking about their options, the volatility has just died, and it's just flatlined at the stock price. And so that tells me if there is going to be this great event where a couple stocks shoot to the moon and a lot of things die, I think PSTH shows strong promise for being one of those things that go up with GME and Tesla and Amazon, and the things that people just refuse to believe could ever go away. But yeah, AMC is the only thing I really trust. And then this builder comes in and he builds a beautiful thing. He makes $10 million. Now he got enough money to go do whatever he needs to do. He can fill up his whole plan over here. He's got his beautiful umbrella. He's a rich man. He can go on vacation now for every year, or he can come back and build another community. But now he's teaching other people to come in and build communities as well. And people, like some people want to go through the ranks, and some people just want to work hard for 10 years, put their head down, and maybe take a month of vacation every year. And then in 10 years, they're freaking set. And they know they just got to give it 10 years of 50, 60 hours a week, doing real hard construction work, but doing it perfect. Finding the construction they like. And they'll be based off levels of difficulty of the construction. Will depend on how many years you got to stay based off the pay. So for a roofer should get paid more than a drywaller, in my opinion. And all of that should be broken out. And we'll just create something that is as fair as possible. Maybe it's not perfect, but it's as good as it's going to get. And rather than this chaos world that we live in, where half the builders are scammers, half the builders don't even pay their freaking workers, rather than living in this society, let's go demand it through our own bank and through creating our own bonds and our own real estate. And we do it together through a system where everyone has a voice. So what I need to do is I need to go through all of this and write out in detail how it works, how it looks, simplify it. I need to have a short version and then a white paper version. So the short version is the sales pitch of why you'd want to invest in it, and then the white paper version is the math and the science and the logic that guarantees that this will have more success than anything. Because there's no work behind spreading the word. Creating your own bank app like a PayPal is nothing. And then all it would be is a Cash App or a PayPal, and just adding on features, which I understand, and the rest of the world just doesn't seem to fully understand. Everyone's trying to stay in their own lane, but they're not understanding that it's all one lane. The financial system is one lane. You can't stay in your life insurance lane if you're trying to convince people to invest in your life insurance plan that produces less results than what you can reasonably expect from other vehicles. Why would anyone give you money for your life insurance plan? Why wouldn't they just buy term life insurance? You got to create a life insurance umbrella, a variable product where people can invest not only for themselves, but also invest in strong solutions in which the world can mathematically agree on will produce long-term positive results in comparison to what everyone else is already getting and doing. Alright guys, I'm going to take off. I might work on some of that by myself, but you guys can see where my head's at now.